Hidden Object Guru here with a breakdown of the new Dark Pictures teaser. Very excited about this one. First up, we get this zoom into the skull's eye on the curator's desk. Let's note here that the skull doesn't have the extended fang-like incisors we can see in this promotional art. So, it's not the skull of one of the game's monsters, it's just a normal skull. We go into the eye and move through an underground corridor. This seems to have been carved out of stone based on all the pebbles on the ground and the scoring on the walls. When we hit this light at the end, we get a hidden cut between these two frames, because suddenly we're not going horizontally through a corridor anymore, but we're going up through a much rougher stone chasm until we get to our two characters. One of them the CIA agent played by Ashley Tisdale, and the other one presumably one of the soldiers she's working with. Check out the rope on Ashley's right shoulder there. Could that be the same rope from the scene in the Little Hope teaser, where she gets cut loose? The lighting is completely different and the rocks don't look identical, but this could be the scene where she tries to descend and winds up dropped into the slime pit. Next we get a POV, presumably from one of the game's monsters, based on the fact that it seems to be sneaking around behind them. Note that it is quite obviously using sonar to see the room. If we slow this down to super slow motion, you can see a wave of white passing over everything, illuminating the darkness and showing us the detail of every little crag in the rocks. This is traditionally how sonar vision is depicted in films, so we can expect the monsters in this game to either be eyeless or so accustomed to the darkness that they have evolved sound-based vision and tracking abilities. Then we go down into the pit and see some columns and more obviously constructed passageways before opening up into an actual underground structure. This you'll recognize as the statue head staircase and beam of light featured in this teaser image from earlier this week. As we pass through this doorway and head towards the flare, you'll notice that the walls are covered with reliefs. We can't get too good a look at them, but they all seem to be copies of this image of a winged man walking to the left. Note that in the hallway approaching the flare, we can see that every single one of these reliefs has been badly scratched up, presumably clawed by the game's monsters. Are they still ticked off at Naram Sin for driving them underground all of those centuries ago? Who knows? Here on the left we've got some old-timey pottery, more fallen columns, and we'll look at that. When we traveled down the pit, we also moved 70 years into the past, because these are clearly not present-day soldiers, but instead the military men who were providing security for the archaeologists who disappeared back in 1946. As you can see, there is a gun next to this body, suggesting that he attempted to fight off the monsters before his throat was slashed open. His hand also seems to have been completely trashed, suggesting it was damaged when they knocked the gun out of it. Now here's a really interesting shot as the body rolls towards the other soldier. It doesn't look like dust coming up from the ground, but rather like smoke, as if the body is burning in the light. Now it's possible this is just a time-saving move by the developers, using a smoke effect here instead of building a dust effect, but it's still an interesting look. And of course then we get this unbelievably gruesome shot of the guy's torn open throat and blood spurting out of it still. Ick. Now we get the soldier fleeing, he's injured, he hasn't been able to hurt the monsters. But before he's caught, we go to the credits. Frustrating, right? But we're given one tiny little glimpse of the monsters right at the end of the trailer, as this horrible long-fingered and clawed hand reaches out of the flare hallway and grabs onto the wall. So, what can we expect from House of Ashes? It's really looking like these are subterranean monsters, humans that, over thousands of years, have evolved into twisted beasts that live in near-complete darkness. Is it possible that they're demons and this is the doorway to Kur? Oh, absolutely. But given the developers' insistence on trying to keep things grounded, I wouldn't be surprised if this was more the descent than the gate. Also, the black skin, long fingers, and twisted claws remind me quite a bit of the fake Satan from the start of Little Hope, so that's got me excited too. Also, the theory that these monsters were created by biological weaponry seems to have been killed by this teaser, since we're seeing monster claws already existing back in the 40s. I've been the Hidden Object Guru, thanks for watching. We'll see you back here once the gameplay reveal is up and we can actually start talking about what House of Ashes is going to be like. But until then, I'm going to say that's right. Au revoir.